And welcome everyone to our AP poll top 25 reaction. I'm Andy Katz here on Bleacher Report, as well as our being repurposed on NCAA.com and March Madness men's basketball. Let's get to the AP top 25 poll. We will then look at my Power 36 in comparison, my player team of the week, games to watch, and stock up, stock down before we get to your questions. All right, first off, let's look at the poll. Not any issues with 1, 2, and 3. UConn, Purdue keep winning. Purdue got challenged big time. I was there for that game last Wednesday against Northwestern in overtime, but they were able to survive that. And then they had a great win at Wisconsin on Sunday. UConn wins on the road, wins at home. They're just getting back to 100%. They are dominant. These are the two best teams in the country. Then we've got a little bit of a rotation behind them. At this present juncture, you've got Carolina, Kansas, Houston, Tennessee, Marquette, Arizona, Duke, and Illinois. All of these teams have warts. All of them have lost one, won one. Look at Carolina. Lose at Georgia Tech, beat Duke. Kansas, previous week, got beat by Iowa State. This past week, beat Oklahoma State, beat Houston. Houston, I would have dropped a little more because they got absolutely obliterated. Tennessee loses at home to South Carolina, goes on the road and beats Kentucky. Marquette, they won their road games. Arizona escaped Sunday night against Stanford, pulled away. Duke won at Virginia Tech, lost at Carolina. Illinois beat Nebraska in overtime on Sunday. Wisconsin, rough week. Lose a lead at Nebraska. They lose that game. Then not able to beat Purdue at home, which is obviously understandable. Auburn, good bounce back by winning at Ole Miss. Baylor, Iowa State. Crazy game in Waco. Baylor coach Scott Drew gets teed up and ejected. Iowa State has a buzzer beater. And then it's waved off. South Carolina, great to see the Gamecocks here at 15. The fact that they won at Tennessee and at Georgia. They've got one SEC loss. That was to Alabama. So a little surprising they're they're in front of Alabama. Alabama's in first in the SEC. Actually, I'm sorry. They have two SEC losses. They lost to Georgia the first time, Alabama, and their other loss overall is to Clemson. There's Kentucky. Rough week for them, losing at home to Florida and then Tennessee. Glad to see Dayton back in, Creighton, Florida Atlantic, BYU, Utah State, Texas Tech, San Diego State, and New Mexico. So the Lobos, which lost to Boise State at home, stay at 25. Interesting. So let's go in comparison to my Power 36. There we go. So as you see, I have South Carolina in the top 10 behind Alabama. Right now, South Carolina and Alabama are the two best teams in the SEC, with Tennessee right ahead of them. Now, you could argue, okay, how is Tennessee behind them in the standings but ahead of them in the rankings? It's a good question. South Carolina did beat Tennessee, so it's a fair assessment, but I just think Tennessee's obviously a better basketball team. I thought what they did at Kentucky was impressive. If you want to come at me that I have them behind, that's a fair comment. But I think they're all interchangeable right now in the SEC. I did drop Houston. I did drop Duke. Arizona's back playing some of their best basketball. So that's why I have them up high. Let's go to 13 through 24. St. Mary's. You did not see St. Mary's in the top 25. St. Mary's is undefeated in the WCC. They won at Gonzaga late Saturday night. They deserve to be in the top 25. How about Virginia? Virginia, now second in the ACC. They're on quite a run. They're back in the picture. Baylor, Iowa State. Indiana State beat Drake. Robbie Avila, remember him? Specs. You're going to see a lot of him in the NCAA tournament. There's Boise State, which right now is tied with Utah State for the top spot in the Mountain West Conference. BYU, Dayton. Let's go to 25 through 36. Butler. Butler is in position right now to be in the NCAA tournament. We're going to have a bracket on Tuesday. We'll see how we play it out on Monday if they get in. Great road win at Creighton. They've already won at Marquette. There you see Creighton. So Butler, Thad Matta doing an outstanding job putting them in position to potentially get a bid. New Mexico and Nebraska had rough weeks. So did Northwestern, but they're all right there. I still think they're really good basketball teams, all of them. Then you got the sort of slew of Big 12 teams in Texas, Texas Tech, TCU. Michigan State, I think, is back in there. San Diego State and Washington State. Washington State now, second place, tied with Oregon in the Pac-12. So Kyle Smith has done an unbelievable job. They got crushed in the transfer portal, and now look at them. They already beat Arizona. They're in position to potentially get a bid. All right, so now our March Madness National Player of the Week. Tyler Kolek from Marquette. Senior guard, preseason first-team All-American. He is now definitely back in play for one of those spots. Absolutely sensational this past week. 32 points, 9 assists, 3 steals, and 2 turnovers in a road win at Villanova. Then 17 points, 8 assists, and just 1 turnover in a road win at Georgetown. So Marquette, they're going to go to UConn February 17th, right back in there with Kolek as one of the 2 best teams in the Big East. National Team of the Week, well, I already mentioned them, South Carolina. Lamont Paris has done an outstanding job in year 2, I believe. Beat Tennessee and beat Georgia. As I said, their losses were Georgia earlier, Alabama, and Clemson. They're now tied in the loss column in the SEC with Tennessee and Auburn. And he's just done a great job of turning this program around. So great week for the Gamecocks. All right, let's look at the games to watch this week. And it was hard to only choose 10. Starting Monday night, that's tonight, Kansas at K-State. The Wildcats have been reeling a little bit. They need this one. You didn't see K-State in my Power 36 because they've been reeling. Bramlage is going to be rocking, so it would behoove the Wildcats to get this one over KU. Alabama at Auburn, that's on Wednesday. Alabama already beat Auburn the first time. If Auburn wants to win the SEC, they need to get a split with the Tide. Illinois at Michigan State. They played once already in Champaign. Michigan State played well. Illinois got the win. They're both playing really well right now. It's going to be great guard matchups. Difference is going to be, I think, Coleman Hawkins. If Michigan State can't figure out a way to guard Hawkins, that's going to be a problem. Baylor at Kansas on Saturday. It's quite a week for the Jayhawks. K-State road, Baylor home. Question is, can Baylor match Hunter Dickinson? Guard play, I think, could be a wash. Saturday, Gonzaga at Kentucky. So the Zags are in a position where they got to win the WCC tournament if they're going to get in. unless they could get this quad one opportunity. If they do that, then I think we can make an argument that they could be in position to get a bid as an at-large. But they're 2 back at St. Mary's. They desperately need this game. Last year, they beat Kentucky in Spokane, not at the Kennel, but in the Spokane Arena. Kentucky, they're going to need this one, obviously, because they need a reset at Rupp after losing 2 home games. Boise State at Utah State. This is now a matchup for first place in the Mount West on Saturday. If it all plays out prior to that. So the Broncos are under Leon Rice. He's got them back in contention. Danny Sprinkle, obviously, Utah State's had a great year. Max Price went off against New Mexico. Big time showdown in Logan, Utah. Tennessee at Texas A&M on Saturday. So the Aggies have had kind of a weird year, but they've got a resume that has home wins over Kentucky, Florida, and they had that road win over Ohio State, which doesn't mean as much, but it was a true road win. So now if the Aggies can beat the Vols at home, that would certainly help them even more. Nebraska at Northwestern on Wednesday. These are 2 teams that are like mirror images. Nebraska beat Northwestern the first time, and they're both coming off just really frustrating weeks. Northwestern lost 2 overtime games. Nebraska lost an overtime game on Sunday. So all on the road for all 3 of those games. In this instance, I think Northwestern needs this more. But I think they're going to be fine still. Washington State at Oregon on Saturday. Oregon is sliding, lost to UCLA. If Washington State can get this win in Eugene, they will really be in position to be the second team out of the Pac-12. And then a nice bubblicious game. Providence at Butler. As I mentioned, Butler's in my Power 36. Providence lost to Villanova on Sunday, so they kind of need it. Butler keeps winning to put themselves in position. It's a really intriguing game. All right, so here is my first February version of Stock Up and Stock Down. Stock Up, Alabama, first in the SEC. South Carolina beat Kentucky and Tennessee already in the SEC, and they're in second place, tied for second. St. Mary's, alone atop the WCC, win at Gonzaga. Washington State, in second in the Pac-12, already have a win over Arizona. Virginia, tied for second in the ACC, so they are reemerging. And then going back to St. Mary's, that win over Gonzaga in Spokane, I think will have tremendous shelf life. Boise State, tied for first in the Mountain West Conference. They've already won in New Mexico. And Butler, won at Creighton, in position for potential bid. Now, stock down. Indiana, they lost at home to Penn State. They have a mountain to climb to try to get in. Ohio State, they've lost 4 in a row. Oregon has lost 4 or 5. Memphis has lost 4 or 5. Clemson has lost 3 of 5. Real tough loss at Duke. Lost at home to Virginia. Colorado lost 2 in a row to drop to 6 and 5 in the Pac-12. And Mississippi State, they've lost 3 of 4. So there's your stock up, your stock down in the first week of February. All right, so now let's go to some of your questions. Dejan 4 wants to know, why is Florida Atlantic still at number 20? Well, they're now in a situation where they're just winning games. They're winning games in the American, and they're winning it in a variety of ways, in the 60s or scoring 100. So it feels like they're playing the way we expected early in the season. Cooper Fabry, Tennessee is hilarious at 4 in your Power 36. That seems too high. Did you watch the game against Kentucky? The other thing is, every one of these teams is flawed. Really, after the top 2, if you want to move teams around in that top 10, I'm fine with that, because all of them Win one, lose one, win one, lose one. They're all flawed. Jay Smith says, thoughts on TCU? I think they'll be in. They're a solid team, not flashy. But they're going to be sort of in the middle of the Big 12. Any chance Colorado State can get ranked? Asked Supreme. The answer is yes. Beating who do they have this week? They just beat San Diego State at home. Yes, they can get back in. I'm drawing a blank on who they have. KJ, what does Grand Canyon need to do to get ranked? Just keep winning. T Barrelball, can UConn repeat? Yes. This is by far the best chance a team has had to repeat as national champions since the 06-07 Florida Gators. UConn will go into the NCAA tournament as one of two favorites with Purdue. Stefan, what does St. Mary's need to do to get ranked? I don't know. They should have been ranked. Randy's done a great job again of finding the pieces that fit, developing a roster that gets better over time, and they're tough. The Gales are consistently tough. That was a crazy environment Saturday night. Stuff's being thrown on the floor, and the Gales kept their composure, arms reach with Gonzaga, and they won the game. So very impressive. All right. So a couple of housekeeping items here. Every Monday, right here, top 25 AP poll reaction, 1 o'clock Eastern. Starting tomorrow, weekly brackets, and that will be, again, 1 o'clock Eastern, where we will react to the March Madness bracket. Every Monday, Tuesday, in the month of February, and in the first week of March. Right here on this app. As always, you can follow me at the Andy Katz on Twitter X, that's what I call it, or the real Andy Katz on Instagram. Thanks everyone for engaging, watching, and have a great 24 hours because we'll see you at this same spot on Tuesday. Thanks everyone.